Hey, what's up, Hognose fans? Thanks for tuning back into Hognose 1. So we have a cool series that's going to come out right now, starting with this video on the natural history of the plains or western hognose snake. I hope it's something that's as enjoyable for you as it has been for me to learn, not just in recent years, but for quite a long time. It has just been so fun figuring out all the different facets of the plains or western hognose snake. So buckle in, come along for the ride, and I hope you glean some really cool stuff out of this particular series. So this particular episode, we're going to be continuing our topic on the evolution and the origin of the Western Plains hognose snake. Remember, I will use Western Plains hognose snake interchangeably with nasicus, sometimes just for brevity. But in this particular situation, I would like to talk about nasicus and simus being sister taxa. They're considered very, very similar. I know, at least in captivity, southern hognose and western hognose have been successfully hybridized. It's been a long time since it happened. About 20 years ago, a breeder thought, I wonder if they could hybridize, and sure enough, they can. Now, they cannot do it in the wild because their ranges, as you can tell here on the maps, do not overlap. There is a section that is gone, and we'll talk about that here momentarily. Heterodon pleonasicus. Remember, this is the ancient one. It was considered archaic hognose snake. There's an archaic time period for humans. This is much older and for hognose, but it's curious, that particular type locality, meaning the first one that was ever discovered and investigated, was in Meade County, Kansas. It was in the Upper Pliocene at an age of 5.3 to 2.6 million years old. Very curious there. Other things we need to consider is in that same time in the Pliocene, there was a cooling and a drying. We were in the middle of an ice age. So if you look at a map of North America, most of Alaska, pretty much all of Canada, and a great portion of the Great Lakes area was all one single ice sheet. The Laurentide ice sheet, Wisconsin, Michigan was totally ice. And remember, it wasn't just permafrost. These were actual ice sheets. Some of the interesting facets we need to consider here are that when there's an ice age, there's a reduction of sea level. So during this reduced sea level, the areas that are more temperate in climate, there could have been opportunities for hognose snakes to make a shift eastward. And it's believed many of the species that occupied the Rocky Mountains and the plains areas, as the older oceans away, 66 million years ago, we had the Western Interior Seaway that came down from Alaska, kind of bordered the Rocky Mountains to the east, and it basically created a seaway from the Gulf of Mexico to the Arctic Ocean. In the temperate areas, that's where Heterodon began to spread over. So if you'll notice on your map, you'll begin to see there the area where the western or the plains hognose snake and the southern hognose, the sister taxa, were at least at one time contiguous. Facets that cause or could have caused that population to break or split. And the primary reason here is that as we began to go through this warming trend at the end of the Ice Age and the beginning of the Holocene, which again was 13,700 years to present, those ice sheets begin to melt. And one of the biggest paths for the ice sheet, especially in the Great Lakes region, was the Mississippi River drainage. Can you imagine, as the earth began to warm, how much water diverged and went out through the Mississippi River Delta? Unbelievable amounts, I'm sure. Not only would it dump out through the delta, but it would also flood any low-lying areas that were there. So it's my personal belief, and I think that we can rationalize that fact and see how that the Mississippi River drainage there was likely culprit in breaking those two populations because of rise in seawater, things like this. Those are factors that have to be considered, and especially in North America. So the cool thing is that amphibians generally have resistance to lower temperatures. We see tiger salamanders right here in Texas in the plains or western hognose range active during snowstorms. Sometimes the temperatures for the high of the day may be 40 degrees, but yet these amphibians are out and ready to move and ready to go to their ponds. They lay eggs in really cold temperatures, so they're not really affected by ice age and climate. That's why you've got tiger salamander populations that exist up into 7,000 to 10,000 feet in elevation, because they're highly resistant to this. So they provided a prey species for the hognose snakes during times where it was colder. That's just one of the really, really cool things. I think all of these things really continue to help us to understand. I think we'll wrap it up on this one here. We'll catch you guys the next time. As always, thank you for the like and subscribe, and I hope to catch you on the flip side.